एफबी पे आप दिख नहीं रहे हो।
एफबी पेज नहीं, एफबी ग्रुप पे रहेगा।
मनीष आया।
हेलो
हेलो।
गुड इवनिंग एवरीवन। गुड इवनिंग।
Good evening. We are live. So
Good evening, Vivek bhai.
good evening, Menar sir. Should we start now?
You can wait for 1-2 minutes. I will sign the link.
I think if it's possible, Vivek, we should wait for 2 minutes more and then maybe
Yeah.
start, not more than that, because unnecessarily delaying this
Sure.
doesn't make sense. 2 more
Sure.
minutes, and in the meantime, we'll message once again in the group.
Let's start sharply at 6:05. It's 6:02 now, so maybe 3 minutes more, and 6:05 we can .65 we can start.
Right now we have 14 people who have joined.
Vedi, can you
So-
pin yourself to the screen? Is it possible? Because on live also, what is happening? Everybody, whoever is speaking, no, they are coming on that screen. So if you can pin your video, no, so that you are.
So I was thinking of the same, but let Ashish finish off at start and then I will pin.
Yeah.
And everyone can remain on mute. If they want to speak, they can unmute and they can speak at that moment.
Also, if you have any queries, you can use the chat box to key in your query, and Vivek can go through the queries during the. I mean, if he's taking a break between the presentation or at the end of the presentation, it will be easier for him to go through all the queries.
Ashish, you are not very clear. You are very feasible.
आवाज भी बहुत लो है आशीष का।
अटी शिथिल करता येतील त्या करणारच असं देखील नवाब मलिक म्हणतात।
बाकी लोग म्यूट कर लो प्लीज।
I muted everyone. कर दियो।
Thank you.
So I guess we can start now, and we'll see. I mean, we'll admit people as they are coming. So, hello everyone. Welcome to the second edition of the Snails to Board Knowledge Series, wherein we try to invite some expert to talk on their area of expertise. If many of you had attended
I think we
the
should
first
start.
edition-
It's already 6:05.
Am I audible?
बहुत
बहुत
कम।
ही कम है,
बहुत कम।
बहुत कम
आपका मोबाइल का आवाज या कुछ तो माइक का आवाज बहुत कम है।
बहुत कम है। Your phone, I guess. नहीं, no, very low.
Vivek, you are on mute. Vivek.
You use that your earphones, I guess.
Is it better now?
No. Same.
Vidi, I guess you.
Ashish, I will take over.
You start because I think there's some problem with my mic.
Yeah. Okay. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another series of knowledge coming from snails to bold. Last time we had Dr. Venkateshwar Murthy speaking on the COVID and the current situation and how we should reduce the impact and face the COVID situation. And today I am here and I'll be talking on how to manage your finances during the pandemic times. Now, I think compared to last year, this time when we see the pandemic and the situations, you will all realize कि हमको हर जगह problems देखने को मिल रही है. Talk to any of your friend, talk to any of your known circle, and we will see the impact of COVID everywhere. And while this has been a matter of concern, we as a financial planners have been talking to a lot of people, our clients, their families, and we realize managing finances also has been a very, very challenging part as far as the COVID thing is concerned. And that's the reason we decided to bring up this particular topic and try to address some of the part. While I will not say that this will help you to completely eliminate the financial shocks of COVID in your life, but it will smoothen the shocks. It will smoothen the impact that you face, and it will prepare you to face or take the financial challenges head on. With this, let me start. And so, couple of disclaimers. Now, this is not any kind of presentation to sell my products or services. This is just an educational workshop wherein we are trying to give you certain insights based on our experience. Some situations might be different for many of you because everyone is a different person and has a different lifestyle, different thought process, different financial situations. So talk to your financial advisor before you take any decisions based on this presentation. So last year, जब COVID situation आई थी somewhere in February and March, and in July there was this survey which was being done. Around 578 people, not a very huge numbers, but 578 people were surveyed, and they were questioned on their personal finances. And these were the results. Around 45% people said they have lost all their income or part of their income. And naturally, 50% were concerned about the financial challenges that they were facing, and they were concerned moderately or extremely about their financial situation. Based on the financial situation and the concerns, a lot of people, around 59%, reduced their day-to-day savings, day-to-day spending. 35% even reduced their grocery spending. Now, this was a sign of concern. And 21% made household budgets. जो चीज मैं समझता हूँ इसका interpretation, a lot of people started taking care of their finances in a much concerned way. They were feeling the impact of the reduced income or job losses and the uncertainty all around it. Presumably 67% people decided to put on hold all their large expenses. आपका car purchase हुआ या white good purchase हुआ या home improvement, home buy, all things were put at hold. And a lot of people decided that they will upskill themselves. They will try to learn new things which can help them in their future jobs or promotions in the current jobs. Now, this was last year. Now we talk of this year, and there was an article which came on 18th May, as recent as 18th May, which said that 35 million workers withdrew retirement savings worth 1.25 lakh crores from PF accounts. This is a sign of concern. When just to save your present, you are compromising on your future, because today's income is not helping you sustain. Second, depleting savings, falling income levels, millions are left poor in India. This is happening despite the government last year, giving some kind of breather after the moratorium. But still, people have to dip into their savings and to foot their hospital bills and to foot their expenses. You have to buy gadgets because of the online classes happening for the children. There are so many things which are happening. And if you see this data, you will be shocked, because I was also shocked. And 6th May, this news article came in. 57% people's claim was settled, and 43% people's claim was still pending. Total claim was 6,700 crores. If you read the second line, that is very important. Hospital bills. If your hospital bill amounts to 8 lakhs, the insurer may cover you for 4.5 lakhs. कोविड सिचुएशन के अंदर सबसे बड़ा जो इम्पैक्ट आया था वो ये था कि इंश्योरेंस कंपनीज ने अपने टर्म्स एंड कंडीशंस को चेंज नहीं किया, और कोविड के अंदर जो कंज्यूमेबल्स के एक्सपेंस बढ़े थे, योर पीपी किट्स, योर ग्लव्स, योर अदर things which are required, which were technically not covered by the insurance companies, and they never covered it. So what happened was, while you had a Mediclaim and that was covering, let's say, some amount, but the complete amount was not getting covered, and it was putting a hole on your investments, or you had to borrow the money. Asides, now this is again an old data, but still it holds good. Now I'm more concerned on this 46% age bracket 30 to 60. 11.4% between the age 30 to 44 got infected, and 45 to 59 age, 35% got infected. Now these are the people who have a lot of dependence on them. Small kids, adolescent kids, spouses, parents. There are so many people who are dependent, and if they are infected and they face any kind of eventuality, the whole family goes, family security goes for a toss. Now, this was a biggest point of concern. Two points of concern that we looked from the financial impact. One was the age bracket 30 to 60 where people got impacted, and second was the hospital bills, which people had to foot. So what I'm trying to say is, with COVID, there were a lot of challenges across all strata of people, all kind of professionals. Everyone faced the heat some way or the other. Now, how do we reduce the impact? Now, this becomes very pertinent today. What all things we can do? So, एक बहुत अच्छा शेर है कि घर सजाने का तसव्वुर तो बहुत बाद का है, पहले ये तय हो कि हम इस घर को बचाएं कैसे. And now let's see how we can save our house in such a situation. Whatever has happened, we can't do much, but the lessons we learned and what proactively we can do now onwards is something that we will look at. So, couple of things that we require to prepare ourselves. One is medical emergencies, job loss, pay cuts, death of spouse or parent. This results into child support structure that we will require post death of the spouse or parent in the family, and natural disasters. So while we were fighting with COVID, we saw a lot of coastal states of Maharashtra and Gujarat, particularly Gujarat, which went and embraced cyclone Tauktae. And you are fighting with one thing, another thing comes up. So you need to prepare yourself for such kind of issues which comes up and which doesn't give you notice. Okay, I'm coming. So how do we prepare ourselves? So first and foremost is emergency fund. What is an emergency fund? So emergency fund is a particular fund that you can create so that in case of any emergency, आप आत्मनिर्भर रहें, आपको किसी पे depend नहीं करना पड़े. You don't have to ask people to give you money. Emergency can come at any given point in time. So मेरे पास उस समय liquidity चाहिए. वो liquidity जो immediately available हो, रात को 2 बजे, तो रात को 2 बजे भी मुझे वो liquidity मिलनी चाहिए. Why? Because अगर पैसे की जरूरत पड़ेगी तो उस टाइम जरूरी नहीं मुझे कहीं से भी मिल जाएगा. Because right now, if you see the pandemic situation, everyone was going through the same situation. So if I have to approach someone for an emergency fund, possibly he's going through the same situation and he will say no to me. So why not? Well, when my condition is good, why not I create an emergency fund? How do we create an emergency fund? So this is very simple. You don't have to, think much about it. A part of your portfolio, a part of your savings, a part of your income, आप उसको एक सेविंग्स बैंक या रिकरिंग डिपॉजिट जो आप ऑनलाइन ब्रेक कर सके कभी भी रात के 2 बजे भी. So you prepare, keep some money over there. Okay, it can be savings fund, it can be recurring deposit, it can be fixed deposit in the bank, or it can be a liquid fund in mutual funds. ठीक है, लिक्विड फंड में खाली आपको एक इशू आएगा कि अगर सैटरडे संडे आता है तो यू विल नॉट गेट द मनी रिडेम्पशंस. बट बैंक में अगर पैसा है तो आप रात को 2 बजे भी अपनी फिक्स्ड डिपॉजिट को ब्रेक करके यू कैन विथड्रॉ द मनी. सो यू कैन क्रिएट अ कॉम्बिनेशन डिपेंडिंग ऑन द योर रिक्वायरमेंट. When you should create it? As fast as possible. Ideally, you should have created it yesterday, but even if you do it today, it is fine. If you start today, it is fine. So some pointers on emergency fund. Allocate a portion of your portfolio for managing emergencies, stress-free. This can be equivalent to 6 to 12 times of your monthly expenses. Here, I would like to stress, I have given a big bracket of 6 to 12 times. It will depend on your monthly expenses. It will depend on the stability of your income. It will depend on the consistency of your income. Some people may have erratic income. Some people may have, stable income. If it is erratic income, a larger fund corpus will make more sense. If you have a stable income, then even a 6 times kind of a situation will be helpful. The sole aim of this fund should be liquidity on demand. A lot of people, when we talk, start talking of returns and sir, थोड़ा सा इसमें से पैसा इक्विटी में डाल दो, रिटर्न ज्यादा आएगा. No, that is not an ideal situation because यहाँ पे पैसा जब मुझे चाहिए तभी चाहिए. So यहाँ पे return should not be the criteria. The only criteria is मुझे आधी रात को पैसा चाहिए तो मैं निकाल सकता हूँ कि नहीं निकाल सकता हूँ without any impact on because of any kind of deductions or exit loads or anything. पैसा freely available होना चाहिए, बिना कोई deduction के available होना चाहिए. Lot of people create this fund, but they would use it somewhere else. So मेरे को AC खरीदना है suddenly, I will use the emergency fund. मेरे को TV खरीदना है, upgrade करना है, I will buy and use the emergency fund. Or maybe for the down payment of the next car that I'm trying to purchase. With excuse कि I will replenish it. Don't do that because you don't know when emergency strikes. So emergency fund should be created with an objective to use it only for emergencies and nothing else. Please make this very clear. And if you have used it for one emergency, try to replenish it as fast as possible so that if next emergency strikes, we are ready for it. Remember, guys, even if I talk of pandemic, there was a time in the history when, one pandemic after the other would have taken 100 years of time lag in between. But today, that is not the situation. We have seen a couple of things coming one after the other. So we had seen Ebola, we have seen SARS, we are seeing this. Maybe it has not impacted us a lot, the earlier ones, but they are coming one after the other. So we need to prepare, we need to keep this fund. If anyone has any questions till now, I would like to take it, or we can, continue. Okay, let's continue. So after emergency fund is created, the next step is looking at insurance. Why insurance? Because we have a risk on our life and our family depends on us. We have a risk on our health. If we are hospitalized and there's no one to take care, our income reduces because of long hospitalization. That needs to be covered. And family distress due to uncovered loans. Now, this has come up very strongly in my mind recently because of certain instances which I have seen. So we will discuss that in detail. So why insurance? What is insurance? इंश्योरेंस कुछ नहीं है, मैं खाली अपना रिस्क एक कंपनी को दे देता हूं कि भैया मेरा ये रिस्क है, ये आप ले लो इसके, और अगर कोई सिचुएशन वैसी आती है यू गिव मी मनी एंड आई विल पे प्रीमियम फॉर दैट. सो दैट गिव्स मी द सिक्योरिटी कि हाँ मेरा रिस्क कवर्ड है. इन सिंपल उतना ही होता है इंश्योरेंस. व्हाई? आपको क्यों चाहिए इंश्योरेंस? सो इन केस ऑफ अनटाइमली डेथ the family gets the money so that the future goals are not compromised. हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस की अगर बात करें तो आज एक हॉस्पिटलाइजेशन कैन the invoicing for that hospitalization can be to the extent of 10-12 lakhs. आप अपने एक्सपीरियंस में देख लीजिए, अपने नियर एंड डियर में देख लीजिए, एक अगर किसी का बाईपास होता है, how much does it cost them? So ideally I think it may cost around 7 to 8 lakh rupees depending on the hospital and the kind of package you are taking. It's a twin sharing, single room or a deluxe room or a private room, whatever. So it may range somewhere between 5 to 10 lakh rupees. So if you don't take an insurance, then what happens? So you have to foot that bill. So either you dip into your investments or savings or you borrow. I still remember 2004 when my relative came to Bombay for his bypass. The first question he asked me was, मेरा इंश्योरेंस हो सकता है क्या? मेडिक्लेम ले सकता हूँ अभी? I said, now अब कैसे मिलेगा? कल आपका सर्जरी होने वाला है 2 दिन के अंदर, and now you are talking of insurance. आपने पहले नहीं सोचा क्या? नहीं, पहले सोचा था, लेकिन तब हेल एंड हार्टी थे. इंश्योरेंस आपको तभी मिलेगा जब आप हेल एंड हार्टी रहोगे. वो आपको तब नहीं मिलेगा जब आप हॉस्पिटलाइजेशन या आपका जो कुछ सर्जरी होने वाला है या कुछ होने वाला है, उस टाइम नहीं मिलेगा. Take an insurance when you are hale and hearty, because tomorrow when you require it, you will not get it. How much insurance we should take? So I will give you certain pointers. If you have, you can see whether you have appropriate insurance, or if you don't have, you can look at enhancing your insurance. First of all, insurance में एक चीज हरदम याद रखिए, when it comes to life insurance, don't mix investments with your insurance. Try to take a term cover. How much term cover is good enough? आपकी जो भी monthly income है, annual income है, annual income का approximately 20 times. Now, as I said earlier, I'm just giving you ballpark numbers. It may change from person to person. So अगर मेरी 1 लाख रुपए के monthly income है, मैं साल का 12 लाख कमाता हूँ, 20 times 2.4 crores. That should be my insurance. Add up any loan amount that I have, add up any amount that I require for my child's education or marriage or any other goal. Okay, so 2.4 crores, as I said, अगर उसके अंदर मुझे लगता है for my son's education I require 50 lakhs, I add up another 50 lakhs, 2.9 crores. I add up other amount, let's say for children's marriage, another, let's say 50 lakhs, 3.4 crores. That should be my insurance. If I have any existing insurance, I can minus that and the balance amount I will have to take. How much does it cost? Depending on the age, it will cost. However, I think around at my age, I'm 48. If I take an insurance today for 1 crore, it will cost me around 45 lakhs, 45,000 per annum. Just to give you some understanding. When it comes to health insurance, now this is a very, very important point that you should take. Please go back, look at your policies. There are 2 reasons. Number 1, generally हम देखते हैं पॉलिसी पूछते हैं तो आदमी बोलता है हाँ हमने ली है, कितने की है, मालूम पड़ता है वो 2 लाख 3 लाख रुपए की पॉलिसी है and they have not upgraded it. Health insurance inflation, you can expect it to be beyond 10% per annum. So if you are not keeping updated, not upgrading your insurance to that extent, then you will face a problem when the hospitalization comes in. Ideally, कितना इंश्योरेंस होना चाहिए? एक बॉलपार्क फिगर है जो मैं लोगों को बोलता हूँ एक लेमैन लैंग्वेज में. आप अगर अपनी फैमिली में किसी का बाईपास होता है तो आप कौन सी हॉस्पिटल प्रेफर करेंगे, उसका कौन सा पैकेज प्रेफर करेंगे, वो अमाउंट प्लस उसका पैडअप कर दीजिए 50%. दैट शुड बी योर आइडियल हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस. कुछ लोग ये सोचते हैं कि आज मेरा अगर 10 लाख का इंश्योरेंस है, मैं इसको 50 लाख कर दूंगा तो मेरा प्रीमियम 5 टाइम्स बढ़ जाएगा. तो टुडे आई एम पेइंग 20,000 रुपीज, इट मे बिकम 1 लाख रुपीज. नो, दैट इज नॉट द केस. आप जितना अपना इंश्योरेंस बढ़ाएंगे, आपका प्रीमियम प्रोपोर्शनेटली नहीं बढ़ेगा. So it doesn't mean मैं 10 से 50 जाऊंगा तो मेरा प्रीमियम 5 टाइम्स बढ़ जाएगा. It may increase by 2 times. Reason is very simple. The average claim in India is somewhere around 3.5 to 5 lakh rupees per claim. So if you go beyond 10 lakhs, the company understands, and because the pricing जो इसकी होती है वो probability के केस पे होती है. So आप अगर ज्यादा higher insurance लेते हैं, so it will not increase your premium to that extent. अगर आपको वो प्रीमियम ज्यादा लगता है तो you can combine your base health insurance with a super top up policy go and ask your provider, health insurance provider, कि what is a super top up policy. आप combine कर लीजिए, आपका premium भी कम लगेगा, आपका coverage भी बढ़ जाएगा. When you should take it? Today. If not taken, please take it today. Please review it today. It is an extremely important thing. Thirdly, you should also look at accident insurance if you have a lot of traveling, because accidental hospitalization can lead, if you take some insurance, then it will give you some amount on a monthly basis for certain number of weeks depending on certain criteria. So agar aapka loss of income hota hai, to that part gets covered to that amount. So health insurance, accident insurance, and life insurance. On the personal side, these three should be properly looked upon, and we should cover ourselves and our family, not only from the taxation perspective, but from the reality perspective, and make this happens. Proper coverage, I just spoke about that.
Vivek, sorry to interrupt you. What were the three types of insurance? You said medical insurance, term plan, and what was the third?
Accident insurance.
Can you just elaborate a bit on accident insurance? I have not heard it actually.
So in case of accident, what happens is you may be hospitalized because there is a permanent, and it can lead to either a permanent disability or it can lead to a temporary disability. Permanent disability means loss of limbs, loss of legs, that can be termed as a permanent disability. But temporary disability means aapka fracture ho gaya, so that's a temporary disability. So every disability gets covered. It is, the terms and condition clearly says कि अगर आपको ये हुआ तो आपको कितना coverage मिलेगा. आपका hospitalization cover होगा. आपका loss of income, अगर आप suppose for some ailment due to an accident, you are hospitalized for, let's say, 6 weeks or 8 weeks. Okay, in that case, the company covers the loss of income also. So at a very nominal amount, you are covered, and that really helps you when any such event happens. I hope this is clear, Pranay.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Chalo, thanks. So, sides taking the policy, can someone please mute? Thank you. So, हम पॉलिसी तो ले रहे हैं, हमने लाइफ इंश्योरेंस ले लिया, हमने एक्सीडेंट इंश्योरेंस ले लिया, हमने हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस ले लिया, but read the terms and conditions. What are covered, what is not covered, and how it is covered, from when it is covered. So मैंने 10 लाख की एक हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस ले ली, लेकिन मैंने ये नहीं पढ़ा कि कैटरैक्ट के लिए मुझे सिर्फ 25,000 या 30,000 रुपए मिलेगा, irrespective मेरी पॉलिसी 10 लाख की या 50 लाख की. And I get the cataract done, and then I say कि okay, मुझे तो इतना ही मिल रहा है जबकि मेरा तो लाख रुपए का खर्चा हो गया. I'm not saying कि they will cover more, but at least you should be aware. Day care procedures किस तरीके से cover होंगे. So day care procedures क्या होते हैं? It is something like someone goes for a chemotherapy wherein he's not hospitalized. These are critical processes, but you don't require a proper hospitalization for that. You go in the morning, you get the treatment done, and you come back. So dialysis ho gaya, chemotherapy ho gaya. These are the kind of processes which which are also covered, but there is a different amount. Asides, there is pre-medical, pre-hospitalization coverage, post-hospitalization coverage for X number of days. We should know all these things, how it is covered. And what happens is many times we feel कि हम जहाँ पे जॉब कर रहे हैं उस कंपनी ने हमको अच्छा खासा कवरेज दिया हुआ है. Perfectly fine. What if you leave the company? What the company decides to take up that benefit, take back that benefit in the future? आज आप हेल एंड हार्टी हैं, कल जब आप कंपनी छोड़ते हैं या for whatever reasons the company takes back the policy and you go for the policy and you realize you have some ailment which is affecting you, impacting you, and you don't get an insurance then. Believe me, we are moving into a world wherein health treatments are very expensive, and it can be a differentiating factor between you being wealthy or poor. So don't rely on the company provided insurance. Take some insurance. If the company is providing, take a complimentary insurance in that case. Insurance हमारा है, लेकिन हमारी फैमिली को पता नहीं कि अगर तक क्लेम आया तो हम उसको कैसे हैंडल करेंगे. I'll give you an example over here. One of my client, which I acquired in 2012. Now, this lady had a decent, this lady's husband had a decent insurance. And after his death, the family got around 1 crore of rupees. And this lady never knew what to do with this money. She never understood investments. And a couple of people in the family gave her some 1 or 2 insurance policies. And they said, you take these policies and your life is sorted. Believe me, if she would have taken those policies, she would have been not on a great financial security. She wouldn't have got that kind of financial security. We sat down with her, we discussed. Luckily, she approached us. We sat down, we discussed, we created a plan. And after taking out money for her daughter's education, that money from 1 crore in 2012, today it is somewhere around 4 crores. It is not about, what I did. It is about understanding what the family needs to do. आप अगर अपने फैमिली में या अपने नियर एंड डियर वंस के केसेस में देखेंगे, इनकम अर्निंग हस्बैंड की डेथ के बाद में अगर वाइफ होम मेकर है और उसको जो पैसा मिलता है आफ्टर द डेथ, समवन इन द फैमिली विल कॉल कि आप मामी, चाची, काकी, मौसी, भाभी, बुआ जो भी है, आप पैसा दे दीजिए, मैं बिजनेस में लगा देता हूं, आपको इंटरेस्ट दे दूंगा, मेरा भी काम हो जाएगा, आपका भी काम हो जाएगा. And she happily gives because she trusts. And major cases, I'm not saying all the cases, but major cases के अंदर after 6 months or 12 months, the interest stops, the money is gone, the relation is gone. वही ढाक के 3 पात. So please, while you take all these things, let your family, educate your family, let them know how they have to consume this money, how they have to invest, whom they have to trust, and what they have to do. Otherwise, आप जो चीज करके जा रहे हैं वो ऑब्जेक्टिव आपका कभी फुलफिल ही नहीं होगा. Another important aspect is, understanding all these insurance coverage from your loan perspective also. So recently, there was a case from one of my clients wherein he had taken a loan, and that loan amount was slightly above 1 crore. And while taking the loan, the company told him, okay, you will have to take an insurance to cover this loan, and that will be equivalent to 1% of your total loan amount. So he happily agreed because his loan was getting covered at a cost of around 1 lakh of rupees. While signing the documents, this person realized that the loan was only for 26 lakhs. Imagine when he asked the person, you told me that my loan will be covered, now it is getting covered only for 26 lakhs, what happens to the balance amount? बोलता वो तो फैमिली को भरना पड़ेगा ना सर, इंश्योरेंस तो 26 लाख का ही है. Imagine what happens if after taking the loan, the husband dies and the family has to shell out that 74, 75 or 80 lakhs to, make that house loan free and have possession of the house. Is it easy? I will give you another example. And these are real examples. One of the chartered accountant told me, and we are working on that case, wherein out of affection, a person buys a property and makes his wife, she is a homemaker, as the first holder. He is the second holder. And in this COVID time, the husband succumbs and wife is surviving. The bank gave the insurance in the name of wife because she was the first holder, husband was not covered. And now she has to make payment. Possibly she might have to sell the house so that the bank's liability gets cleared off. Would anyone like to get into that kind of situation? So what I would suggest is, if you have a loan, go back to your bank, ask them what insurance have they given, what kind of coverage is there, review it, rectify it wherever possible. Otherwise, we are calling for a disaster. So this was the second case. First, we spoke about emergency, then we spoke about insurance. The third, what if the person, the bread earner of the family himself is not there? Has he done enough so that while the society says, let the person rest in peace, this person will say, okay, now my family will live in peace, because the assets have been transferred to them. They have the required financial security. They understand what kind of money they have. They know what to do with them. So let's see what happens in such cases. Okay. Now, again, these are two cases. The earlier cases I spoke was from the insurance perspective. Now, again, look at these cases. Husband dies, wife has no clue of the family investments and savings. Because generally, हमारे घरों में यही होता है कि there's one person who is looking on the investment and savings, the other person is not aware. I'm not talking who is looking, whether it is husband or the wife, but one person is looking and the other person is not aware. And after the husband's death, the wife realizes that there's a liability of 2 crores and she doesn't know what her savings are, what his husband has invested in, where is those investments. एक जमाना था जब सारी की सारी चीजें फिजिकली अवेलेबल हुआ करती थी, घर का हेड उन चीजों को एक फाइल के अंदर व्यवस्थित रूप से रखता था. आज की डेट में एवरीथिंग इज डिजिटाइज्ड. योर बैंक स्टेटमेंट्स, योर म्यूचुअल फंड स्टेटमेंट्स, योर डीमैट स्टेटमेंट्स, योर प्रॉपर्टी bills, your electricity bills, maximum things have started coming online to your email, registered email ID. And registered email ID is registered, or it is applicable, it is available only on your mobile. And mobile is protected by a PIN which has a fingerprint security or a face security. अगर वो नहीं है तो आपका फोन ओपन नहीं होगा, आप उस मेल को एक्सेस नहीं कर पाओगे. Gone everything. Now अब आप ढूंढते रहे, उस चक्कर में घूमते रहे कहां से क्या मिलेगा. Take another case. Husband and wife both succumbs to COVID. 2 minor kids. How will the finances be handled? Who will get the custody of these minor kids? Who will handle it? We don't have an answers. What are the assets and liabilities we have when we are working, we are investing, we are doing everything. So these are the assets. Some of the assets I've listed down. These are the kind of liabilities we may have. So don't you think your family should know the consolidated assets and liabilities, so that in case the bread earner is not there, who was the decision maker, at least they know okay, what is there, what is not there, and they can actually work out as to what needs to be done now. Does the family know whom to connect with in such situation? बात किससे करनी है? हमें पता ही नहीं है वो इंश्योरेंस एजेंट कौन है, या वो स्टॉक ब्रोकर कौन है, या फिर वो फाइनेंशियल एडवाइजर कौन है. We don't have any idea. So if they know these things, if they know what are the assets and liabilities, if they know whom to connect with, if they know whom to trust in such situations, don't you think it will be a better option? Is the family aware where the important documents are kept? Your property related documents, your assets related documents, so your loan sanction letter, which gives in the detail. So today we are fighting a case wherein we are just trying to ensure whether there was some insurance while the loan was taken or not. The spouse is not aware in this case. While the loan is there, loan is not a very big amount, but whether the insurance was there or not. So we are going to the bank asking them, okay, please let us know whether insurance was there or not. If the family receives insurance claim, how the money will be optimally invested? Luckily, that lady, we were able to help her out. But if there is no one helping with the right intention, what can happen? You can just understand and just think about it. Now, well, it is very easy to say. बहुत आसान है ये चीज बोलना कि आप इसको घर में डिस्कस करें, लेकिन घर के अंदर the moment we start talking कि okay, what if I am not there? It becomes a very, very difficult question. It's an emotional subject, believe me. बहुत difficult होता बात करना. When I spoke with my wife, it was very difficult. We had to abruptly end our discussions within 3 minutes of starting the discussion. But attempt karte, we were able to come to that discussion wherein we were able to discuss if this happens, this is what needs to be done. Or these are the people at least whom you can connect with, and this is where the data is available. So you know what needs to be done, whom to contact, and he will help you out. And I trust that person is a good person. I can only trust. Will नहीं बनाते हैं. हमारे पास assets हैं, properties हैं, हम will नहीं बनाते हैं. We will see अगर हम will नहीं बनाते तो क्या होता है, लेकिन अगर will नहीं है और asset distribution में कोई dispute आता है, so Hindu Succession Act applies to Hindus, Sikhs, Jains and Buddhists in the absence of will. Muslim Personal Law Application Act 1937 is applied to the Muslims, and Indian Succession Act 1925 applies to Christians and Parsis. In case there is an intercaste marriage and the marriage is registered under the Special Marriages Act, then Indian Succession Act will apply irrespective of the religion of the person. So this is, we will discuss Hindu Succession Act slightly in detail. Let me admit, I'm not very much knowledgeable as far as the Sharia law is concerned, but so I will not discuss that in detail. And Indian Succession Act is more or less similar to the Hindu Succession Act with some difference here and there, but the broad structure remains more or less the same. So in Hindu Succession Act, there are class 1 heirs. So if there is anyone or there are multiple class 1 heirs, then the property gets divided between them equally. Let me take an example over here. If I ask you a question, if there is a property available and husband and wife are joint holders in the property, and there is the husband has father, mother, spouse, a son and a daughter, whom do you think this money will go to in case of death of the husband, or this property will be distributed? Nomination spouse के नाम पर. I will again repeat, property in the name of husband and wife, father, mother, spouse, 2 children are there. Property has a nomination. Let's say because husband and wife are joint holders, we will say that the property has a nominee where the husband's father is the nominee and husband dies. There was no will. Hindu Succession Act के हिसाब से वो property किसको जाएगी? Anyone who would like to give any answer?
Will it go to spouse? Joint
Okay.
owner?
Okay. Any other answer? Any other?
Maybe kids, if they are major.
Okay. Who else? Anyone else? Any other thought? So, as per law, father gets nothing despite he being the nominee. The class 1 legal here in this case is mother, spouse, son, and daughter. Everyone gets 25% of the share because the sale or the purchase agreement never mentioned. We all assume because that's the practice. There was no particular share mentioned between the wife and the husband. So it is assumed that both have 50% share in the property, and the husband's 50% share gets divided 25% each, going to mother, spouse, and both the children. That's the way the law decides. If there is no one in class 1 legal here, then we move to class 2 legal here. The first branch, यहाँ पे थोड़ा distribution का तरीका अलग है. In class 2, the first branch is father. If the father is alive, there is no one in class 1, then the father gets 100% share of the property. If the father is not there, then this person's brother, sister, and his son's daughter's son and son's daughter's daughter, they will equally get the share. I'm not going much into the detail beyond this because there are 9 different branches. But what we need to understand is, if we don't have the will, our wishes as to who should be the beneficiary in the property, that will not be honored. So generally होता ये है कि हमने एक nomination कर दिया, सुप्रीम कोर्ट का एक जजमेंट है जो ये बोलता है कि नॉमिनी को प्रॉपर्टी ट्रांसफर कर दो. But nominee, please understand, is not the ultimate beneficiary. Nominee is just the recipient of that asset on behalf of the beneficiary. And if the beneficiary demands, he has to give it to the beneficiary. Okay. Beneficiary has to be legal. So this is how the law works. Agnates, cognates, I'm not going into this detail. Let's not complicate things because 99% we will have class 1 and class 2. So class 1 I have already discussed. Now class 2, we are just looking at branch 1, which is the father, and we are looking at branch 2, which is sons, daughters, son or daughter, and brother and sister. So if all of them are available, they will get the equal share in the property. Uske baad wo complicate ho jayega, so let's not get into that detail right now. But please understand, and this is not only about the property. This is about the minor children also. So I was talking to another relative of mine, and he had some a child who is around 8 or 9 years, who was 8 or 9 years old that time. And I just happened to ask him, what if you and your spouse both are not there, they die in an accident? I'm sorry, I have to talk this language. So please understand my situation. So when I spoke with him and I said, do you know if in case you both are not there, and considering your circumstances, the custody of the child will go to your brother, and your 7-8 crores rupee, crore of rupees which you have created, and the brother and this relative of mine, they were not in talking terms with each other. There was no trust factor. Now imagine you don't create a will, the custody goes to the person whom you don't trust, and it has to go to that person. Your money is gone, your child's future is gone, everything is gone for a toss, for which you have worked, you have toiled yourself. So please understand the importance of the will, which we don't do somehow. Now this I was talking, what I spoke till now was from the husband's perspective, the male perspective. Now let's talk from a female perspective. Now what the law says is, first of all, in case of female, we have to decide the property is coming from which side, from her parent side or from her in-law side. अगर वो parent की तरफ से आ रही है, मायके से वो property मिली है as a gift, then it will go back to her parents. It will not be distributed to the in-law side. And if it is from the in-law side or it is a self-occupied property, in that case, her son, her daughter, and her husband gets an equal right in the property. In case they are not there, then the legal heirs of the husband gets the share in the property. If they are not there, then this female's mother and father gets an equal share. In case they are not there, then the legal heirs of her father gets the share. In case the legal heirs of the father are not there, then the legal heirs of the mother gets the share. This is how the property gets divided. So when it is such an important thing, do you think we should make a will, and how difficult it is to make a will? Believe me, will is a very, very simple subject. If you can write a love letter to your spouse or your fiance, you can create a will. It is as simple as that. Only thing is we procrastinate somehow because we don't want to think of those, we are emotional, so we don't want to think about those things कि अगर इसको कुछ हो गया तो फिर मैं क्या करूंगा या मैं क्या करूंगी. बट आप ये सोचिए कि अगर हमने कुछ नहीं किया तो बाद में क्या होगा, उनका क्या होगा, आप वो भी सोचिए. Will, first of all, who can write a will? Any person who is a major, who has assets in his name, who has a clear title of the assets, can write a will. He should be of sound mind. He should be owner of the asset, and he should be a major. He can write a will. Is it required to be printed on a stamp paper? You can write it on a plain A4 size paper, handwritten, typewritten, signed by you, perfectly fine. If it is on a stamp paper, it gets some sort of genuinity. Otherwise, you can write it on a plain paper also. Is it necessary to register a will? Is unregistered will valid? Yes, unregistered will is valid, but registration gives a more authenticity and reduces the chances of any kind of contestability. However, it is not mandatory, it is desirable. There are 4 parties to the will. We have the person who is writing the will, known as the author or a testator. We have the beneficiary for whom the will is getting created, to whom the assets will go. We have the executor. He is the person who will execute the will based on the desires mentioned in the will by the author. And there are witnesses. So witness will just sign near the author of the will, and his sign means that this person has signed in front of me. There was no coercion on the person to sign the will. It was not forcibly created, and this person was of sound mind while he was signing the will. That's it. He doesn't have to know the content of the will. He is just claiming that the person who is signing was good enough, was fit, and he signed it in front of us without any force on him. Who can be a witness? Anyone except the beneficiary can be the witness. And a witness, and there are 2 witnesses which are required. Do I need to sign will in front of a doctor? Not necessary, but it is desirable. I won't even say you have to sign in front of a doctor. You prepare a will, and on the same date, you take a mental fitness certificate from the doctor and attach it with the will. That is good enough. So, printing on a stamp paper, registering the will, taking a medical fitness certificate from the doctor, these are all done to reduce the contestability of the will. Nothing else. If you don't do it, that is also fine. But if you do it, it reduces the contestability. Nothing beyond that.
Vivek, what is the cost of registration of a will?
It depends. First of all, it is registered at the sub-registrar office where the property etc. gets registered, including out-of-pocket expenses and other things which we have to, being where we are, we have to look at those costs also. Ideally, I don't think it should cost more than 2.5 to somewhere between 2.5 to 5,000 rupees at the max.
VD, I have a question on this.
Yeah.
Can the will be challenged by class 1 heirs?
It can.
Then what's the benefit?
Okay. सड़क पे चलने से एक्सीडेंट होते हैं. हम चलना बंद नहीं करते, हम प्रिकॉशंस ज्यादा लेते हैं. Correct. Likewise, to reduce the chances of any kind of challenges, we are, getting it stamped. We are doing it on a stamp paper. We are registering the will. We recommend you take the doctor's fitness certificate. So these are certain steps that you're taking. So will में challenge कब होगा? जब किसी को उसका share नहीं मिलता है, जो उसको लगता है कि उसको मिलना चाहिए. That is where the person will go and challenge the will, right? So if we are giving an unequal share, then we should mention the reason why we are doing so, just to remove that kind of issues which may arise in future.
What I'm trying to ask is, let's say someone has made a will, okay, and he has totally excluded the class 1 heirs, don't get dependents and family members, and given it to some third person, let's say for charity or for any reason. Now, if someone challenges, legal heirs challenge that, so who will win in the court of law? The beneficiary or the legal heirs?
There can't be a point blank answer to this, Prashant. Who will win in the court of law? First of all, we need to understand why the person is doing so. Was there any dispute between the family? Or he says that everyone is well settled and I want to give it all my money to charity. That is point number 1. Point number 2 is there a possibility while creating the will, I'm discussing it with the family, okay, I'm doing this kind of a thing and I'm making you aware. That can be another situation. Third thing is, I don't want to disclose anything, but still I'm doing it for whatever motive I have in my mind. In that case, it can be challenged. So what you can do is you can go to a lawyer, create a will. You can, go to the registrar and register the will. These are the things you can do. But if I am not satisfied, I can challenge it. The court will decide based on the circumstances whether to, ask the people to go ahead with the will or to give the benefit to the challenger. It's a subjective question, Prashant. I will not have an answer to this, who will win in the court. But yeah, if you are not doing something which is, naturally or logically should have happened, it can definitely be questioned.
Thank you.
So what next? We have seen three kind of situations. One is we are fighting this pandemic through an emergency fund creation, through ensuring that our insurance are adequate and the family knows how to handle these insurances in case we also get hospitalized. And we are also talking of, creating a will. If something happens, then, that will help in the smooth distribution in 99% of the cases. So now what? Financial planning. We generally avoid getting into any kind of financial planning because the kind of answers that I listen is, अभी तो पैसा ही नहीं है तो प्लान कहाँ से करें? So जब पैसा नहीं है तो प्लानिंग तो जरूरी हो जाती है ना. Where you have to plan when there is a scarcity, and you have to also plan when there is an abundance. Because abundance के अंदर हम गलतियां ज्यादा करते हैं, scarcity के अंदर हम procrastinate ज्यादा करते हैं. So in both the situation, to come out of both the situations, and to rightfully get into that situation, and we need planning. Planning helps whether we have scarcity or whether we are in abundance. The benefits, planning सबसे पहले आपकी पुरानी गलतियां आपको बताता है, so that आप फ्यूचर में वो गलतियां ना करें. You create your budget, you move in a disciplined way, and that is where you save more. Okay, you all are part of Snails to Bolts, majority of you. I will ask you one simple question. What does your coach Manish does when you approach him first? आपको करना क्या है? अगर आप 5 किलोमीटर ब्रिस्क रनिंग करना चाहते हैं, there is a different plan. अगर आप 10 किलोमीटर करना चाहते हैं, there is a different plan. अगर आप 21 करना चाहते हैं, 42 करना चाहते हैं, अल्ट्रा करना चाहते हैं, whatever is your objective, accordingly your plans will be created, accordingly your strategy will be created, accordingly your training will happen. Same goes with money. Someone needs to know what exactly you want to achieve out of it, so that it can be properly planned, it can be properly executed. Know your risk appetite. How much risk you can take? Imagine, can one equity fund fit everyone just because it gives the highest return? Possibly no. The person should have that kind of appetite. And if we understand our mistakes, if we are able to save more, if we are able to save as per our risk appetite, we are definitely fulfilling our financial goals. And that is what planning does. In this pandemic, for the last 1 year, the people who have been going through the process of planning, they were least affected as far as finances are concerned. So planning is required. Take help of a professional, talk to him, understand what needs to be done, because that helps. ये आपका मार्केट है आपके सामने. See the movements of the market and see the ups and downs. So you should be following these ups and downs, or should be following your objectives, fulfill your goals. So long term के अंदर you are making money. While I am not saying this is the only way to make money, but this is definitely a way to make money. Okay, but इसमें volatility बहुत है. वो volatility के बाद उतना मुझे long term इसमें time चाहिए इस market के अंदर. I have to stay in this market for a long term so that I create wealth. Okay, but this is not the only place to create wealth. You have other avenues to invest. You have fixed income, you have gold, you have real estate. You need a proper asset allocation. सो एक क्रिकेट की टीम होती है, उसके अंदर खाली बैट्समैन नहीं होते हैं, उसके अंदर बैट्समैन भी रहेगा, बॉलर भी रहेगा, उसके अंदर फील्डर भी रहेगा, अच्छे फील्डर्स भी रहेंगे, एक विकेट कीपर भी रहेगा, एक दो ऑलराउंडर्स भी रहेंगे. देन इट इज नोन एज अ कंप्लीट बैलेंस्ड टीम. Likewise, your portfolio should be balanced. It should talk about investment, it should talk about emergency, it should talk about risk mitigation, tax efficiency. There are so many things. So someone has raised this question while I had requested people to raise your questions to me. Someone has asked, can we compare fixed income with equity? Okay. Ideally, I cannot compare fixed income with equity because fixed income is a completely different asset compared to equity. They have different characteristics. So which is better of the two? I would say both are better depending on what proportion you are buying. If I am an aggressive person, I need to create wealth fast, or maybe I have lost some ground and I need to run faster. In that case, equity will be required more aggressively. But if I'm a slow runner, okay, my strategy is different and I have time with me, a fixed income, a more proportion of fixed income will help me. And they both complement each other. So they don't correlate with each other. If fixed income is moving, the equity is not moving. If equity is moving, fixed income will not move. Okay. So it provides a cushion to your portfolio. Same goes with gold. Real estate, I'm not a big fan of real estate as an investor, as an investment, because it is tax inefficient, it is not liquid, and it takes time and you can't sell in part. So these are some of the reasons, but I am no one to put my biases on you. So you decide what exactly you want. However, one very important thing is understand yourself, what is good for you, what exactly you want, what are your objectives, move in a pattern. Okay, keep on rebalancing your investments. Don't go with the momentum only, because when the momentum is out, your portfolio will have the biggest losses which you will be staring at. So keep your investment strategy simple and effective. Basics पे आप जितना ध्यान दोगे उतना अच्छा है. Whenever Tendulkar was not able to bat properly, he went to MIG club and kept on practicing on the basics hours together. That is where he got his form back. So बहुत ज़्यादा I would say exotic products, structured products, different strategies, वो सब करके मतलब नहीं. आप basic strategy लेके आप चले जाएंगे, चलते चलेंगे, you will achieve your objectives. Okay, so understand this part very well. One of the question which came to me earlier 2 days back from one of you was how a housewife can do investments and do some kind of create some kind of financial security. So I think इसमें मेरे से ज्यादा तो आपके पुराने experiences, हम सबको हमारी माँ, दादी, नानी सब याद हैं. They used to take out some money. Emergency fund घर में वही create करती थी सबसे पहले. आप किसी भी घर में चले जाइए, 500,000 रुपए कहीं से भी निकल के आ जाएंगे, because she knew how to save. So आप saving कीजिए, you put the money in bank, you invest it, even a small amount helps. It is not about which investment will give you the best return. It is what exactly is good for you, what you can do. Okay, हरिवंश राय बच्चन की एक बहुत प्यारी लाइन है, बहुत प्यारी कविता है, उसकी एक लाइन है, मदिरालय जाने को घर से चलता है पीने वाला, किस पथ से जाऊं असमंजस में है वह भोला भाला, अलग अलग पथ बतलाते सब पर मैं यह बतलाता हूं, राह पकड़ तू एक चला चल, पा जाइएगा मधुशाला. So whatever income you are getting as a housewife, as a homemaker, whatever contribution you're getting to run the home, whatever amount you are saving, आपके घर के नीचे आसपास कोई भी बैंक अकाउंट खोलने, आप पैसा उसके अंदर डाल रहे हैं, पैसा इकट्ठा होगा, उसका 2 पार्ट में डिवाइड कर दें. समथिंग विच यू कीप फॉर एनी काइंड ऑफ इमरजेंसी, सम अमाउंट यू टेक इट फॉर इन्वेस्टमेंट्स. बैंक वाला अगर आपको बोलता है कि आप ये पर्टिकुलर इंश्योरेंस पॉलिसी बोल लीजिए, खरीद लीजिए बिकॉज इसमें इन्वेस्टमेंट और रिटर्न्स बहुत अच्छे हैं, प्लीज डोंट लुक एट इट. इन्वेस्टमेंट को इन्वेस्टमेंट रहने दीजिए, इंश्योरेंस को इंश्योरेंस रहने दीजिए. खाली एक ये चीज याद रखिए, बाकी थोड़ा थोड़ा पैसा आप कहीं भी आप एफडी कर दीजिए, चलेगा. आप म्यूचुअल फंड ले लीजिए अगर आप समझते हैं तो, नहीं तो आप किसी की हेल्प ले लीजिए. बट स्मॉल अमाउंट ओवर ए लॉन्ग पीरियड ऑफ टाइम विल गिव यू इनफ मनी which will make you happy. You have achieved something or created something. Believe me. So,
Vivek,
this
I
is-
would also, sorry, I'm just interrupting. I'll also
Yeah.
request you, once you're done with your session, there are a lot of queries being put by members on chat. So once
I
you're
am
done-
seeing that. So I'm just finishing in the next 2 minutes, and then I'm taking all those queries.
Sure.
Okay. So this is a beautiful slide which I always love. We all are, heavily into physical exercises. Many of you, exercise more than me. I am actually a procrastinator when it comes to physical exercises. But yeah, so you have to be physically fit. You have to be financially fit also, and that covers only 50% of your life. So if you want to be joyful, stress-free, then aside physical and financial, you have to look at emotional and spiritual fitness also. And that is where you will find joy in your life. You will get into that state of joy. So please ensure you are physically fit. Please ensure you are financially fit. You have to look at basics. You are emotionally fit. You're contributing to the family and the community, and you're spiritually fit, which means you are learning new things and you're teaching new things to people, and see what wonders it does to your life. Pandemic doesn't impact you if you take care of these 4 pillars of your life. You will always be in a joyful state, and I can vouch for that. So, couple of actionable points, and then I will get into the chat and look at all your questions. So, preparing emergency fund, buying insurance, writing a will are equivalent to war games played by armed forces. Why do I say that? Armed forces every year conduct many war games with different countries. Doesn't mean they get into war every time. It is all about preparedness. Are you prepared enough in your life? Even the armed forces, although they go for war games, they will never prefer a war if given an option. We will also not prefer any kind of eventuality coming to our family. But these emergency funds, the right insurance, and writing a will are only to prepare ourselves in case an eventuality comes which we don't want. But if it comes, what do? Neither Rome was built in a day, nor will your immunity. So ये पैंडेमिक टाइम में काफी सारी चीजें आ रही हैं. आप काढ़ा पी लो, आप गिलोई ले लो, आप ये कर लो, आप हल्दी ले लो, आप ऐसा कर लो, वैसा कर लो. 4 दिन में कुछ नहीं होगा. अगर ये सारी चीजें काम भी करेंगी तो it will take its own sweet time. So remember, you have to exercise daily and you have to eat healthy. A financially aware family is a safe family. It is not about what you create and give to them. It is how they have to maintain it. They should know that. So you have to teach them, you have to guide them, you have to instruct them. Have a common physical digital vault shared within the family, wherein, the assets and liabilities are kept. They know what needs to be done, where they have to look, whether it is a locker, whether it's your almirah, whether any place. But at least couple of members in the family should know. Include your children in the discussion if they are 16 year plus or 14 year plus. They understand, they are matured enough. They should know what my father or mother are doing as far as money is concerned, why they are taking a particular decision or why they are withholding a particular decision. Believe me, first of all, while we are looking at giving the best education to our children, we are forgetting one thing. No institution in the world, and I'm repeating, no institution in the world teaches 2 things to our children or to any children, which is very important. One is how to manage money, and second is how to manage relations. We, as a father and a mother, as a parent, we have this responsibility to teach these 2 things well to our children for their financial future, for their strong financial future. So please ensure we teach these 2 things, how to manage money and how to manage relations well. And believe me, they will never fail in their life. Prevention is always better than cure. Well, prevention doesn't mean you will not get any kind of ailment, but it reduces the impact, it smoothens the shock. So please remember this. And I will take these questions first, and then we will open the floor for any questions coming via voice. So
hi Vivek, if you want, I can, go through these questions one by one, and then you can, answer if it is okay, or else you can,
perfect, Sushil. I will love that. Thanks a ton.
Yeah. So I think during the session, there were a few questions which you have already addressed.
Okay.
There is one question from Manoj. He's asking, some elaboration on optimal investment of, on insurance claim.
Manoj, if you can clarify if you can clarify on this question of yours.
No, you mentioned about the whenever we get a claim of insurance, it should be optimally invested.
Huh.
So just maybe if you can elaborate on optimal investment.
Okay, so let's say I have taken a policy of 2 crores. I die, my family get 2 crores. Now, what should they do? The simplest option is to put the 2 crores in a bank FD, and that is good enough, right? That is what we generally tell them. Suppose kuch nahi hai, paisa dal do. Now, there are two things. A bank will give me a particular interest rate. Right now, it is 5%. A couple of years back, it was 9%. Tomorrow, I don't know whether it will be 6% or 8%. But let's say we take today's scenario, 2 crores, 5%, we are getting 10 lakhs. 10 lakhs is taxable. Irrespective of the expenses, irrespective of the inflation, I will have to pay taxes. Okay. The first problem over here is, if I get 5% when the inflation is 6 or 7%, my money is not earning, my money is depreciating. Secondly, my income is fixed, but my expenses keep on rising. So we have to come to a situation wherein, this money is invested in such a way that the money grows, the return on the money also grows, so that my family doesn't feel that impact or that pinch of, expenses increasing, but the income remaining stagnant. That is what I mean when I say optimally invested. You have to look at the future from a long-term perspective. आज के perspective से नहीं. काफी लोगों से मैं ये सुनता हूँ कि ठीक है यार, मेरे पास में अगर 2 करोड़ रुपया आएगा, 2 करोड़ के सामने 5 करोड़ में को 10 लाख आता है, मेरा खर्चा 5 लाख रुपया है. 5 लाख फिर भी बचता है मेरे पास में. So my life is set. But if you have a 30 years of timeline with you, then even this gap of 5 lakhs between your income, FD interest, and your expenses will not help you. Because your inflation, because your expenses are rising and your income is stagnant. So whenever you are making an investment, please look at a couple of points, which is what is the inflation, what is the taxation, and what kind of volatility or certainty or uncertainty of the income is there. These three things are very important before you make any kind of commitment to any kind of investment. So that is what I mean when I say you have to, optimally invest the money. I hope I'm clear.
Yeah, it is clear.
Thanks. Thank you.
So, Vivek, most of the time we have seen that, these insurance policies which it always comes with a rider, right? And we have a question from Vinay. He has a query that is there any term policy which covers terrorist attack or, the act of God? Is there any policy related to these?
So majority of your term insurance covers terrorist attacks and natural calamities, death happening due to these things. If you are a victim of the terrorist attack, it gets covered. 99%, if I'm not talking from our perspective, but if the person himself is a terrorist and he has an insurance policy, he will not be covered. Point number one. Even the policies, that's why I say you have to read the terms and conditions carefully. So if you see, even a suicide gets covered after 1 year. So you take a policy today, for the next 1 year, the suicide doesn't get covered, but after 1 year, even the suicide gets covered. And see, we may laugh at it, how can suicide be covered? But the logic is very clear. A person will not take a policy just to cover or plan a suicide after 1 year. It's a very impulsive decision. It happens in a moment. So he will not plan it. That is the reason 1 year window is provided. Likewise, your terrorist attacks, your natural calamities, everything is covered. More than term insurance, I would say you have to look at these clauses in your general insurance. If you are covering your house, if you are covering your building, society, your office, then the couple of policies provide natural calamities as a rider. And that is where we have to be very careful. But in term insurance, there is no such issue.
Great. I hope that answers Vinay's query.
Thank you.
We have a few questions. So few are related to the investment. So what is your opinion on, direct investment in stocks is better or it's a mutual fund? And second one is, should one look at Bitcoin also as an investment option? What is your take on this?
So the first question, Ashish ka question hai, to Ashish कि तरीके से बात करूंगा कि आपको गाड़ी कैसे पसंद है, मतलब ड्राइवर चलाए शॉफर ड्रिवन कार पसंद है या सेल्फ ड्राइविंग पसंद है? So direct investing is just like self driving, and mutual fund is just like a chauffeur driven car. It depends on you. See, on a serious note, it depends. Direct investing requires a lot of expertise. When the markets are on the high and they are moving, giving returns on a daily basis, what we are seeing since last 1 year, everyone thinks he knows everything about the stock markets. कहते हैं ना, जब हमाम से पानी निकलता है सारा का सारा, तब समझ में आता कि किसने क्या पहना है क्या नहीं पहना है. Same goes with investment. So if you have enough knowledge, if you have enough temperament to invest directly in the stock market, please go ahead and do it. But if you don't have that kind of temperament, that kind of knowledge, then I would prefer you stick to mutual funds only. What was the second question, Sushil?
What's your take on, looking at Bitcoin as, investment option?
अगर एक आदमी के ट्वीट से 2 दिन के अंदर 50% नीचे आ सकता है बिटकॉइन, then it is not an investment.
Got it.
So any investment, if one person can control it with one tweet, I think we are risking a lot of things. So again, everything has to be looked from the risk return perspective. What kind of risk are in fact, there was today a tweet which is floating a lot. It is getting viral. One of the exchange, not the exchange or the service provider, he took 32 millions of the people who had invested the bitcoins via their platform, and they have disappeared. Now, how will you trace them? What will you do? So it's a risky option, and the biggest problem we have is we don't know where we have to invest and why we are investing, what is the objective, what kind of returns we require to fulfill our goals. अगर हमको ये सारी चीजें पता हो ना, तो हमको ये मालूम रहेगा हमको कितना % रिटर्न कमाना है, which will make us happy. आप सोचो, आपको ये नहीं मालूम है कि आपका एंड पॉइंट किधर है और आप रनिंग करते चले जा रहे हैं. How long will you be able to run?
So basically, it's more on the riskier side, and stability wise also. If you see, it's depend upon, again, I will say, as in your terms, it depends upon your risk appetite.
Exactly.
How much you have.
Exactly.
Great. Ratna ma'am, I have seen that you have raised your hand, so would request if you can put in your questions, please.
Yeah. Hello, everyone.
Hello,
Good
ma'am.
evening. Yeah. So I have one query is, suppose I have 100 rupees to invest. So in what, what kind of investment I should be doing? So how much % in gold, how much % in a mutual fund, how much % in PPF? So just wanted to know the distribution, if at all, it's possible to know.
I can give you some ballpark structure which you can, think, and then you can look at your investments. But if you are looking at, it is not only about 100 rupees getting divided. It is why we want to divide. Number one, what is the timeline we have, what kind of investment objectives we have, and what we want to achieve. So if my timeline is, let's say, 10-year and or maybe 7-year plus, then I can look at, a decent proportion going into equities and some portion going into debt or gold. Okay, if I have a very large goal to achieve and I need a higher return, then equity allocation can be on the slightly on the higher side. But if I'm very stable, my income is good, and I'm looking at some basic objectives to be fulfilled in my life, and maybe a 8-9% kind of a return can help me achieve whatever I want to achieve in my life, then I think even a smaller allocation to equity with some or equal allocation between equity, debt, gold can help you out. So it's a subjective question, ma'am. It will depend on person to person. But yeah, I think these pointers can help you out.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thanks, ma'am.
So Vivek, again, we have one question related to child. So basically, what we have seen that these insurance agents, they always pitch in for child's growth, career plan. And is there any term plan available for kids too in the market?
I don't think so, and I don't subscribe to that structure for the simple reason. See, insurance kiska hona chahiye? Let's understand that very clearly. Insurance should be taken on the earning member, because if something happens to him, at least the financial loss can be negated. Emotional loss ka hum kuch nahi kar sakte. ठीक है, but people who are dependent on us, if we take an insurance policy on them, God forbid, no one wants the kid to not being there. I will not use the word die, but if kids are not there, no one will want to talk of that situation. And anyhow, they are dependent on us. So why should we have term insurance on them? So that's not the right way to think about it. So take insurance only on the person who is actively earning. Not earning as per income tax returns, but who is actively earning. That is the person who should be covered. And coming to your another part of the question, a lot of people pitch child growth and career plans. So understand one thing: education inflation is what, 10% at least. Okay, so is your money growing at 10% if you're taking a particular policy or scheme? If it is giving you 5%, then please understand you are not creating the kind of wealth you should create, which will take care of the children's higher education at that particular point in time.
Got
So
it.
that is point number one. Point number two is, are you financially disciplined? So if I say instead of taking a particular committed policy, you invest into mutual funds, which will give you higher returns because the time duration is long, and whatever may be the reason, I'm not getting into all those stuff, but you have to invest, let's say, 15 or 20,000 rupees a month regularly for the next 10 years. Will you do it religiously? Do you have that kind of discipline? So if you have that kind of discipline, believe me, you have to look at inflation adjusted returns. Because if I'm earning 12% and my inflation is 7%, then I'm making 5% extra. But if my inflation is 10%, 7%, and my policy is giving me 5%, I am depreciating my growth or my capital by 2% every year. So take a choice. The choice is yours. Take it whatever you want.
Great. Good insight. So again, in case if someone wants to invest 10 to 15K every month, and the risk is very averse, then what option would you suggest?
Risk averse will mean what? So I think, Sushil, I will touch base on one point over here. Is what do you mean by risk? So generally हम ये सोचते हैं risk का मतलब loss. I will go back to my slide. Just 1 second. अब किसी ने 99 में पैसा अगर इन्वेस्ट किया, 2000 में पैसा इन्वेस्ट किया, 2000 is somewhere over here when the market was around 6,000, 7,000 rupees, 6,000, 7,000 का index था.
Yeah.
March 23rd March 2020, the market came down. ठीक है? And there was a 30% drop because of COVID related lockdown. So आज अगर मैं 6,000 से 30,000 भी जाता हूं और मैं 5 गुना मेरा प्रॉफिट बना है, is that a risk? So I think risk, rather than looking risk only from capital loss, I will ask you one question, Sushi, or maybe the person who has asked the question can answer this. If I have 4 vehicles with me, one is a cycle, one is a motorcycle, one is a car, and one is a plane, and I have to travel from my home, which is near GCC Club, and I have to travel till Mira Road station. In one of the 4 vehicles, which is hardly 3 kilometers from my house, which one will I prefer most, and which one will I not prefer at all? Okay, car for a shorter distance. And which one will I not prefer?
Yeah, plane.
Plane you will not prefer because it is 3 kilometers. You don't have the airstrip and you cannot fly and whatever may be the reason, right? If I have to travel from let's say from Bombay to Delhi, which will be the ideal medium of transport of the four, which is cycle, motorcycle, car, and plane, and which is the most avoidable vehicle?
For a plane and avoid a cycle.
You will prefer a plane and avoid a cycle. So it doesn't mean cycle was bad or a plane was good. It will all depend as to where you want to go, and to reach there, which vehicle will help you the best. So if I take a cycle to travel from Bombay to Delhi, my risk is the highest. Because it will take longer time, it will have more wear and tear, and I don't know whether I will reach or not. We may say कि plane का accident होगा तो क्या होगा, but cycle आपकी 4 बार पंक्चर जरूर होगी, वो तो पक्का है. और इतने सालों में, लास्ट 10 साल में हमने कितने प्लेन के एक्सीडेंट्स देखे. So it is, the risk should be, number one, whether it will help you reach your objective or not. In between बहुत कुछ होगा लाइफ में. पेंडेमिक आया, पेंडेमिक गया, हम सब है ना. रिस्क तो था, लेकिन रिस्क मैनेज कैसे होगा, that is more important rather than the risk itself. So look from that perspective. Risk, how you manage is on you. So how did we manage pandemic? There was social distancing, there was mask, there was sanitation, there was hygiene. We took all those steps to avoid the risk. And people who religiously followed all these COVID appropriate behavior, they were the people who had the minimum impact of getting infected. Same is the case over here. So risk should not be looked only from the capital loss perspective. It should also be looked as to whether we are able to reach our objective or not with minimum impact. I would put it that way. I hope I was able to answer, because I went a different path on this answer. So I hope I made it clear.
No, that was quite, I mean to say, simple. I could also, I'm not so good into understanding all these things, but that was quite simple. And basically what I could understand, that there are multiple factors which needs to be considered, and then that should also be, appropriate to that particular timing and the particular situation.
Yeah.
So we have another question. As a working professional who is 43 years old, if he gets some surplus money, should he be focusing on repaying his home loan, or should he invest in his future? So basically, and obviously that's very good questions, and that comes to my mind also, that let's say if I get some good amount of money, whether I should clear my home loan, or whether I should make some kind of part payment of my housing loan, existing loan, or whether I should invest it for my future. What would be your take on that?
So will that amount help you clear your loan completely?
So the thing, it can be both way. Either I can make a part payment, or I can clear the entire loan amount. So if we can discuss on both the scenario.
So see, I being a very conservative person when it comes to finance, I would always prefer try to clear a liability as fast as possible, because that gives a lot of security to the family. That is point number one. Still, it has to be looked from the person's perspective. If he has a stable income and he has been associated with one company for a very long time, and he feels that okay, nothing is going wrong with him for the next couple of years, then we can look at allocating some part in clearing the loan and allocating some part in investments. I will just share one example over here, a real life situation that we handled for a client. And this client was heavily into loans, although he has a very good income, but major amount of his income was going into servicing the EMIs. So what we did is we kept on reducing the loans, and whatever the loans were getting closed, the EMI, because he was anyhow paying EMI from his income only. So we said whatever EMI you are saving. You have to start investing that amount immediately from the next month itself, the moment you are closing the loan. So within 6 months period, and we also, did one thing. If he had a property which was taken on loan for investment purpose, we requested him to sell it off, because after paying interest, you will not get the property appreciation work for you. Okay, so he sold those unwanted investments, reduced the loan liability, increased his investments. Now look at the case. This person was having a decent job, a stable job, everything was fine. The company became bankrupt. This was 1.5 years back. He was out of job. Because by that time he has removed, eliminated all his loan and all his EMIs. It took around 8 months to get back to job, but he was not worried because there was no EMI burden on him. And on top of that, he had certain investments which was taking care of him and his family. So he was living his life the way he was when he was having a job. And in 8 months, he got a job and he started his investments. So a combination, reducing the loan as early as possible or eliminating the loan completely is something I will prefer. You can always save tomorrow, but reduce the loan liabilities as fast as possible.
Great. That again, kind of good insights. We have another question from Vinay that up to what age should the term insurance coverage be taken? I mean to say whether it is till 60 or 65 years beyond.
So my personal suggestion is take it till your active working life is there. So a lot of people have this opinion कि यार insurance ले रहे इतना पैसा भर रहे हैं तो उसको 85-90 तक ले लेते हैं, मतलब कभी हम जाएंगे तो पैसा तो मिलेगा. एंड माय आंसर इज कि बस वो आप चाहते हो घर वाले ये वेट करते रहे कि कब जाए और कब वो पैसा आए. So that is one aspect. And second aspect is was understand one thing. The longer I have a term insurance, the more will be my premium. So I need to balance my premium along with my risk and my cash flows. So ideally, if your working age is till the age of 60, possibly you look it at 65 or at the max 68 or 70 at the max. Don't go for 80-85 years.
May I request if you can put yourself on mute?
Sorry.
So go for those 60, 65, 70 at the max, because मैं जितना लंबा जाऊंगा उतना कंपनी का रिस्क बढ़ता है, उतना वो प्रीमियम ज्यादा चार्ज करती है. So ideally till my working age is there. And उसका दूसरा लॉजिक ये है कि अगर मैं 60 साल तक मैं सर्वाइव करता हूं तो chances are I will take care of all my financial responsibilities towards my family. And अगर मैं 60 तक नहीं कर पाया, मैं रिटायर हो गया, उसका तो वैसे भी मैं कुछ नहीं कर पाऊंगा. So might as well I keep my insurance till the age of 60-65 at the max.
Got it. Vinith, hope that answers your questions. So I think we are done with the queries which we had on the chat box. I'll request in case if anyone from the the participants they have any questions, they can ask, they can unmute themselves and they can ask it directly to Vivek.
PPF वाला हुआ क्या? Question.
Guys, those who are not speaking would request please go on the mute, and those who wants to put their questions they can come forward. Thank you.
There was one question on PPF investment from the Ashish, I think. Is it covered or?
Which one? Acha, let me just have a look. Which one you are saying, Manoj?
1 second.
Okay, so there is one question which I missed, Vivek. Sorry on my part. That
No
what is your opinion on PPF investment option, considering 14 years of lock-in period?
So if you start early, I think this is a beautiful investment. It comes under exempt portion. So your interest is exempt, your income is exempt, your maturity is exempt. So, and giving you right now, it is if I'm not mistaken, it is giving 7.4%. So tax-free 7.4% on a debt investment is something that no one should miss. That is point number one. Point number two, still you have to look at your asset allocation, and this has to be a part of your total portfolio, and this has to comply to that asset allocation that you have. So if you are looking at, let's say, 50-50 kind of a situation between debt and equity, so that 50% should also comprise this investment. So if it is falling within that part, it should be taken, point number one. Another point is, please understand that your money will get blocked for 15 years. So put that money, only that part of your debt investment, which you can, actually forget for 15 years. And I think if these two conditions are fulfilled, then that is one of the very good investments that we have on the debt side.
Got it. Ashish, I hope that answers your query. We have one query is that in case if someone has investment in stocks and equity, should he or she switch to a mutual fund to manage it better?
So again, I said it depends. You want to switch. Are you not able to manage? Are you not happy with the kind of returns that you are able to generate compared to the markets? That is the reason you want to shift, or is there any other reason? So if there's any other reason, then we have to, introspect a bit more. But if it is only because you think you're not able to generate the kind of returns that market is giving and mutual fund is doing a better job, and you don't have that much time to invest, then it makes sense to switch in that case.
Yeah. So basically, the reason is main important factor based on which. What is the main reason and based on which the planning will be done?
See, majorly, Sushil, kya hota hai? This I have seen a general tendency. A lot of people open Demat account, and because their friends, their colleagues, their known circle, someone is investing somewhere and he made some money. So he thinks that person will tell me something, I will buy and I will make money. So my suggestion is, don't go for such kind of tips when it comes to equity investment. It may harm you more than it may benefit you. So if you don't understand, don't get into it. Go directly with mutual funds. There's a lot of safety, there's a lot of security, there's a lot of compliance, and very well regulated, very transparent. And believe me, मतलब आपको एक छोटा सा example बता देता हूँ. You have to be in the market for that. So one of my friend's father, and these are all real examples which I'm giving you. If someone wants, I can show them the statements also. Okay. So one of my friend's father, he invested 3,000 rupees in November 98 in his son's name. One time investment, 3,000 rupees. And this money was removed in September 2012, approximately 14 years. And this 3,000 rupees, when we redeemed, it was around 75 or 77,000 rupees. I don't remember the exact amount, but 75 to 77,000 is something we withdrew. Now, 3,000 अगर 14 साल में 70-75,000 होता है, पहली चीज, being a Marwadi, interest क्या आया? And we found that the IRR or the annualized return was somewhere around 21%. When the person asked me, my friend asked me, Vivek, बहुत अच्छा scheme था, कौन सा scheme है? I said, it is not the scheme which was good. It is you forgot about this investment that was good. Otherwise, वो 3,000, 6,000 में निकल जाता because पैसा डबल हो गया, excitement में हम निकाल लेते पैसा, या फिर हम उसको 2,500 में निकाल लेते इस frustration में कि मेरा capital टूट रहा है. So you have to give time, and please understand, between 98 and 2012, we had a financial stock market related challenges in 2000, 2004, global financial crisis in 2008, when the market fall down from 22,000 index Sensex to 6,500. And still that money is growing by 21% annualized. So even mutual fund is good, direct equity is good. It depends on where you find your solace. That is very important.
No, I truly agree with you. And the two, key mantra in these, what I have realized, one, as you rightly said, is patience, which, most of us, we don't have. And second thing, the trust between, with your financial, advisor. Generally, what happens when you see these, markets fluctuating, you tend to keep on asking, कि भाई क्या करना है, and that patience part. So
उसका problem ये है, and I don't shy away from, making this statement. Many a times, or majorly, it is only the returns which are sold in the market. And that's a wrong practice. You have to sell the process. and process works better than the returns in the long run. So follow the process. राह पकड़ तू एक चला चल पा जाइएगा मधुशाला. Only thing is, all I say, मेहनत का फल मीठा होता है, लेकिन मेहनत करके नींबू चुराओगे तो खट्टा ही निकलेगा. ठीक है? So buy good, buy decent things, and hold it for a long time. Keep on monitoring it. I won't even say fill it, shut it, forget it. The Hero Honda ad that we had long time back, but you fill it, you monitor it, and then you forget it, and you will get your financial objectives. You will meet your financial objectives for sure.
Great. So I think we have already overshoot the time. So we'll take these last questions and then maybe.
Sorry to interrupt. Lalit का एक question रह गया. NPS versus PPF.
Okay. Can you read that for us, Rahul?
He asked what is suitable, what is better, NPS or PPF?
Okay. Lalit ji, वो दोनों अलग-अलग चीजें हैं. Again, I said we need to understand the objective of where we are investing. PPF is long-term investment, which is not a retirement fund, and it is helping in creating a retirement corpus, but it is not a retirement. It is not a pension fund. Okay, NPS is a pension fund. The whole objective of pension fund is to give you pension and annuity post your retirement age or whatever age we commit over there. So, दोनों का objective अलग-अलग है. Number one. Number two, PPF is pure debt fund. NPS में you have an option of choosing the fund manager and choosing the kind of equity proportion you want in your investment, whether you want active rebalancing or you want a passive rebalancing. So there are so many different things available. It has to suit your requirement. Possibly, if we can, chat personally, I can tell you what you should look at.
And further, is PPF account should be closed after 15 years?
No, PPF account you can extend for a period of 5 years after 15 years, and multiple times you can extend it. Every 5 years you can keep on extending it. It will keep, whenever you extend it, it will be extended for 5 years.
Great. So I think that was the last question which I wanted to put you, put for your answer. So I think you have answered most of the queries which we had, and considering the time constraints which we have, since we have already, overshoot the time. So Vivek, on behalf of Snails to Bolt, let me thank you so much for this enlightening session. And trust me, I agree with you, the kind of scenario which you, put. Still, if I talk about myself, thinking about those things, it makes us, scared that how we are going to discuss it. And that's a very, pertinent topic, and that's a very, that we need to discuss it. And I can bet that, you must be finding most of your clients who generally don't work on this part, because when it comes to, Indian families discussing about demise of something, some spouse, that's a kind of, and as you rightly given your example. So again, from your session only, I came to know that there are so many things, actionable point for myself. And I'm sure all the other participants would, also realize the same thing, and they will be, working upon it. So thank you so much once again. And I will also like to thank Snails to Bolt for, keeping these knowledge sessions and these sessions, I believe are, helpful during this current, the tough situations which we all are going through. And I'm sure it will be, helping all the, many people's from Snails to Bolt, from other fraternity also. So thank you so much, Vivek.
Thoroughly enjoyed, Sushil. Thoroughly enjoyed the whole discussion. And all I would say is thanks for being participative and interactive. And stay safe. Have a COVID appropriate behavior. We are still on the war with COVID. So, and if anyone requires any help, please feel free to message me. I'm available for all of you. Thanks, Atal.
Thank you, Vidi. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thanks
you
for
very
your
much.
time.
Thank you.
And thanks everyone for joining.